We'll call this meeting of the Craven County Board of Commissioners regular session for Monday, November the 4th, 2024 to order. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Howard?
Here.
Commissioner Hunt?
Here.
Commissioner Mark?
Here.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Here.
Vice Chairman Bucher?
Here.
Chairman Jones?
Here. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, please let's stand together as our County Attorney, Mr. Eric Grady, will lead us in prayer. And then after the prayer, I ask you to remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag.
Heavenly Father, we pray your protection for this assembled body. May the brightness of your countenance shine upon them. Keep them in your hand and give them the assurance of your walk with them as they go about the business of deliberating the affairs of our beloved county. May they find in you the strength to withstand those who criticize. Give them the humility to accept aid when offered and the courage to do the right thing. Holy Father, make them aware of your presence as they take part in that divinely appointed experiment we call human government. Then at the end of the day, let them know all that is required of you is to love mercy, do justly, and to walk humbly with their God. In his holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you this evening to the Board of Commissioners meeting, which is your meeting, and to those that may be viewing online, we also welcome you. We would ask that for those of us in attendance, if we could, to make sure our cell phones are on silent, we would appreciate it. Commissioners, you have before you your agendas. Are there any items you desire to add or pull from tonight's agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept? Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the agenda as is. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Item 1 tonight is the petition of citizens for agenda topics. Mr. Vice Chair, do we have?
There's nobody for the agenda topics. Nobody
Okay.
signed up.
Nobody signed up for agenda topics. All right. We then go to item 2, which is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda this evening, you have the minutes of the October 21st, 2024 regular session, minutes of the October 24th, 2024 reconvened session, tax releases and refunds, and then our sheriff has a donation for some checks, a budget amendment for that. Are there any items that you desire to pull from the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as is. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hear none, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Mark?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher?
Yes.
And Chairman Jones?
Yes. All right, departmental matters this evening. We begin with item 3, which is planning. Mr. Chad Strong, our planning director. Good evening, sir.
We'd like to request a public hearing be held on December the 2nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. to receive public comment regarding a proposed no-wake zone. This no-wake zone proposal is in the vicinity of Merchants Boat Ramp and Fueling Station along Bryce's Creek. You'll go to the map there. I'll show the... So you see in the green hatched area, the proposed no-wake zone starts approximately 50 yards north of the Bryce's Creek Road Bridge, down to approximately 120 yards south of the Merchants Boat Landing. A total distance of 450 yards in this no-wake zone. Once this public hearing is held, the commissioners will then be asked to support a resolution that will then be forwarded to the North Carolina Wildlife Commission for final consideration. So if it's up to the pleasure of the board, we request the public hearing be set for 6 p.m. on December the 2nd, 2024.
Okay, Commissioners, before we entertain a motion, I would like to defer to Vice Chairman Bucher. This is in his district.
I heard from Merchants, and it's a new owner, by the way. The new owner contacted me probably 4, 5, 6 months ago and asked if we would be willing to support a no-wake zone. We went out and looked recently at the spot where, if you look on the map, right where the two roads come together, just below that is where Merchants ramp is, where they fuel boats and where people can put boats in and out of the water. It's all been replaced, all the old ramps, the fueling station, everything is new, updated, and it's my belief that it would be a wise thing to do this, not just because they ask, but you're putting fuel in boats, and you got boats going by. And by the way, when the boats are coming from the bottom, going toward the top, they come around that corner and they're over pretty close to that ramp and fueling station. I don't think if my boat is there getting fuel, I want it doing this. So it would be my recommendation that we support this recommendation. And of course, we'll have a hearing. And I do know some of the people that live along there. The one gentleman that lives just above Bryce's Creek Road, I spoke to him, saw him in person at a function, and I said, we're being asked to consider a no-wake zone. And he bowed down to me. He was so excited. He said, oh man, we really need it. He said the speed that people come through this spot is just out of control. So based on that, I recommend that we go forward with this.
All right, so is that a motion? That
I
we
do
s-
make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to set the public hearing for December the 2nd, 2024 to receive public comment regarding the proposed no-wake zone in Bryce's Creek. We had the motion and second. Is there discussion on the motion? I would ask for, how will this be publicized to those citizens in that area? I mean, our normal putting it in the paper, et cetera.
That's correct, and we've also discussed about sharing it with some property owners in the vicinity of the no-wake zone.
Okay, all right. Additional discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Good
it.
evening.
Item 4, this evening we have opioid epidemic response. We have our director, Ms. Caitlin Godley. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. As you're all already aware, one of the most important steps in being able to effectively address the public health concerns related to the substance use and opioid overdose in our community lies in our ability to accurately identify gaps and needs. To effect sustainable change, it's essential that we look not only at the gaps and needs that exist within our own county, but also within our region, as these concerns are not confined or contained by county lines. For consideration is the proposed regional agreement with the Eastern Carolina Council for the completion of a comprehensive assessment across the continuum of care for adult substance use concerns for our 9-county region, which includes Carteret, Craven, Duplin, Greene, Jones, Lenoir, Pamlico, Onslow, and Wayne counties. The goal of this agreement is the creation of a complete asset map of the region, which will be used to identify gaps and needs that can be addressed through regional collaboration and partnership. This map will support the development of a regional strategic plan that can inform the best and highest use of effective strategies to maximize the positive impact of opioid settlement funds and other initiatives within our communities. To complete the delivery of the comprehensive assessment, Recovery Alliance Initiative, or RAI, will utilize the Calculating an Adequate System tool, or CAST, software through partnership with JG Research and Evaluation. The primary data collection will be completed by RAI to include prevention, recovery supports, and other recovery organizations in our area. In addition to the inventory of assets, the CAST software will be used to estimate the capacity of current systems to meet the current and expected demands of services over the next 3 to 5 years, thus identifying areas of concern that warrant additional attention and focused resources. It is anticipated that this project will require 12 months to complete, and it will cost $60,000. However, Based on population, the cost to Craven County will be $9,500. I'm requesting approval of the Regional Opioid Resource Asset Mapping Project, approval of the amended spending authorization for the expenditure of an additional $9,500 of opioid settlement funds to be allocated for the collaborative strategic planning strategy, as well as the associated budget amendment.
All right, Commissioners, before we entertain the motion, is there any questions?
I just have a question. Once the map is complete, what is kind of the action plan to use? Obviously, you're identifying gaps here in services, but like, what's the action plan to kind of combat that?
The action plan will be really to look at what the priority needs and gaps are, and to collaborate with the other counties as well as our money and our resources to be able to close those gaps and figure out where those areas and those assets are needed to be developed.
Thank you.
Will the counties who sign off on this, will they get periodic updates throughout the calendar year over, it's month 3 and this is where the assessment is now, and at month 6, this is the progress we've made? Because this is needed, I support it, but it needs to be timely.
Right. So this project is set up in phases. So there'll be a certain amount of time for each phase to be completed. And we have regular contact with REI. And I'll be the person of contact with REI to stay in continuous communication with them and get updates about the project and where they're at with it.
Okay, but my question is, will the counties, this board, receive?
We can
those
certainly
updates?
make sure.
I would feel a whole lot more comfortable if at month 3 you said, we're right on track, or they're running 3 weeks behind and I'm all over them.
Absolutely. I'll be more than happy to
Okay.
make sure that the board stays up to date on where they are with the
I
project.
appreciate that, thank you.
Absolutely.
Do you need a motion?
Is there any other questions out here?
Any questions?
Okay,
I'll make the motion that we approve this.
all right. We have a motion and a second. As stated by Ms. Godley, there are 3 action matters in this motion. Approve the mapping proposal, approve the amended opioid settlement fund spending authorization, and number 3, to approve the budget amendment in the amount of $9,500. Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I'd like to make a statement.
Yes.
I think this is important that we support it because I don't think we can combat this opioid epidemic as if we're an island. I think it's critical that we collaborate with our neighboring counties to combat this.
Any other discussion? If not, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Mark,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher,
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes. Ms. Godley, I believe this is the first time you've come before and joined this Board of Commissioners. We welcome you aboard.
Thank you.
You want to tell the citizens, just if you don't, if you can, you don't have to, but if you would, just share a little bit about yourself so our fellow citizens that may be viewing online could get to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. I've spent 11 years on the treatment side. I worked with Port Health Services here in New Bern as their program supervisor for the last 8.5 years of that 11 years. So after being a therapist myself, so seeing firsthand substance use and treatment, and that treatment can work with a variety of options for that treatment and recovery. So I think it's imperative that we focus on the treatment aspects as well as the whole person. That is essentially what I think is going to be best from my experience with dealing with especially the opioid epidemic.
All right. Well, welcome. Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
what
Welcome
do.
aboard.
Yes.
Thanks. Thank you all.
Good evening. All right, item 5, we have Emergency Services. Mr. Stanley Kite is with us to discuss Department of Insurance Fire Department grant matches. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to be before you tonight to present on behalf of some of the fire departments in Craven County who were awarded the North Carolina Department of Insurance, which is going to require also a budget amendment to the amount of $393,644, with the matching share of that would be $196,822. I would like to inform you tonight that the recipients, and I'll go through them in order, first was Cove City for $29,250, which they will be acquiring turnout gear, air packs or self-contained breathing apparatus packs, some spare cylinders, as well as some hydraulic hose reels and equipment to be able to extend their extraction services from the mobile unit. Next would be Fort Barnwell, which was receiving $40,000. But they're going to also be receiving firefighter turnout gear, which is the pants, coats, hats, boots, gloves. They're going for 12 and 20 hoods, 10 helmets. They're going to be also receiving 4 self-contained breathing apparatuses, 6 spare bottles or cylinders for those, and 3 mobile radios. And they're going to add some additional pagers to their list as well. Township 9 Fire Department is recipient of $40,000, which they're going for 9 sets of turnout gear to be replaced, some gear bags for that equipment to carry it, keep it safe and clean and dry, 4 mobile radios, 4 pagers, and then I have the RIMS Volunteer Fire Department, which I think this is the first time they've been eligible to receive this award. They're getting $40,000 for 9 complete self-contained air packs that also will have specialized equipment, 19 spare cylinder bottles. Those bottles expire after so many years, so they're having to go through a replacement cycle. They're also looking at the thermal camera system to go with 2 of the SCBAs. They're also looking for a rapid intervention team pack, which is a case that's pre-designated so that if a team has to go in to rescue a firefighter, then they have additional air supply and adaptable equipment hoses and so forth with them to help make sure that person has enough air to get out of a structure if they have to go in and do a rescue. They also have a replacement cylinder and the bag for that equipment. And they got listed as 14 hoses, which is additional replacement fire hose. Dover Fire Department is receiving $32,742.50. They too are replacing firefighter turnout gear, protective gear, as well as some gear bags. They're trying to replace their base radio for the fire station and 10 additional personnel pagers, 5 thermal imaging devices, which are handheld, and they're also looking for the carbide cutting chains to use for their saws and their blades and their extraction equipment, as well as batteries and pagers, and they're going to get 24 sections of fire hose. Vanceboro Fire Department is the recipient of $14,828.25. Their big ticket item there is going to be turnout gear, protective clothing gear, 15 additional pagers to replace some of their older Minotaur paging equipment to supplement their communications equipment. I would say to you that I would like to remind you that the list these items are selected from is a list that is provided by the North Carolina Department of Insurance, All-State Fire Marshal. They can't just submit items they'd like to buy. They have to pick from what's an approved list for them to be able to buy that, and then they look at their finances, their revenues, they look at the per capita, they look at several things to determine the eligibility. So I'm not here tonight to say who got how much and why, but it's because of the total process, and this was the award and how it was received. Historically, you have generously matched that grant, which would give them double the buying power if that happens. And that's why I'm here before you tonight to ask you to approve this budget amendment and to match those grants on their behalf.
Okay. All right, question, Commissioner Mitchell.
I have a question on the math. I mean, I think this is wonderful. Absolutely, I support matching the grant. But if they got $200,000 approximately in grants, I'm confused over why we're being asked to allocate $400,000 because.
Yeah, Jack.
Take this. So it's an accounting measure. If you go to the budget amendment, it's coming out of general fund or
Okay.
fund balance to general fund, back to general fund to the different accounts.
Yes.
It's an accounting measure that you have to show it twice.
Okay, okay.
It's just once. You're actually only funding 196,822 in real dollars, but the way we have to show the budget amendment, it comes across. As
Okay, okay, so this is an issue. ET is not a CPA. Got it.
Good question. Any other questions? All right, if not, do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second that we approve the budget amendment in the amount of $393,644 for the county match for our fire departments. Any further discussion on the motion?
I just want to say that I always support matching grants like this because I think it encourages people to make those applications. And we're getting money from multiple sources and not just having to fund it on the county level. So just for public consumption, I think it's a good.
Well put, and I agree with you 100%. Any other comments? Not, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Mark,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher,
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes. Thank you, Stanley.
Aye, and on behalf of those departments, thank you for your support.
Appreciate it, buddy. Have a good evening. Commissioners, item 6 is appointments. You have before you pending, current, and upcoming appointments. Under pending, are there any nominations for any of the pending? All right, here none, we will go to current. We have several there before us this evening. The first one is for Craven County's Clean Sweep. Several positions here. The first would be Mark Seymour seeks to fill the upcoming vacancy of Mr. Billy Wilkes. What's the desire of the board?
I would reappoint him.
Okay, we have the nomination of Mark Seymour. Are there additional nominations? Here none, we will set by acclamation. Next would be Debbie Titus seeks to fill a vacant seat. This is cooperative extension. The application is enclosed in your agenda packets. What's the desire of the board?
I nominate Ms. Titus.
All right, we have the nomination of Ms. Titus. Are there additional nominations? Here none, we set by acclamation. Next would be Ms. Palmer was appointed in October, but due to other volunteer obligations is unable to fill the appointed term and requests to vacate her seat. Did she send in the documentation in resigning? So she has resigned. This is an open seat, okay? Does this have to be filled by any certain individual, Madam Clerk, or you don't know?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So, Commissioners, I reckon we'll move this back to pending, so please keep that in your minds, and if you have a nomination, we'll bring it back at next time. Next will be the Craven County Planning Board, District 7 seat, Commissioner Bucher.
Yeah, I nominate Danny Hill Jr.
Okay, we have a nomination of Danny Hill Jr. Is there additional nominations? Not, we've set by acclamation. Fire Tax Commissioners, Rodney Russell, Township 3, Dover. That is Western Craven County. I would nominate him. Are there additional nominations from the floor? Here none, we will set by acclamation. Next would be the New Bern Craven County Library Board. Commissioner Mitchell has been working on this. You have the application of Ms. Siegel, who seeks to fill a vacant seat.
Yes, and I strongly recommend her.
Okay, we have the nomination of Ms. Karen Siegel. Is there additional nominations? Not, we set by acclamation. Next is the River Bend Planning Board, ETJ. There is a list enclosed. Mr. County Manager.
Commissioners, I was able to speak with the town manager in Riverbend on Friday. I told him we received the list, but it is a very small list. So we plan on getting with Commissioner Mitchell one day and just kind of going through, and he has not had anybody on the list that's shown interest, so we may actually have to try to spark some interest in this seat to get somebody to fill it.
Okay, thank you. Next would be the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Legislative Goals Voting Delegate. County Manager relayed to me that the only commissioner that will be attending is Commissioner Hunt. I would, if that's still the case, I would nominate Commissioner Hunt. Are there additional? All right, here are no other nominations. You have our vote, Commissioner Hunt. Thank you. All right, are there any other current that we've forgotten, Commissioners? Here none, we will go to upcoming on the next page. Please take note of those that will be in the upcoming meetings. Okay, anything else to bring before us under appointments? Here none, we will move next to item 7, which is the County Attorney's Report. Mr. Grady. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I have 4 items for your consideration this evening. All 4 involve surplus property that the county acquired through the tax foreclosure process. All 4 are owned jointly with the city of New Bern, and for each parcel, the city's already given its approval. The first is an initial offer for 323 Liberty Street with a parcel ID number of 8009070. We've got a bid of $1,380. The original past due taxes and cost of foreclosure were $3,055.86, and the tax value of this property is $2,760. I would suggest the board consider giving initial approval to this.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution of partial number 8-009-070. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we go to B.
The second item is 1120 Church Street with the parcel ID number of 8011299. The offer amount is $3,375. The past due taxes and the cost of the original foreclosure were $4,626.29, and we have a tax value of $6,750. I would suggest the board consider giving initial approval to this one.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution and authorizing up said bid process. Partial number 8-011-299. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. All right, C.
1125A Queen Street with the parcel ID number of 8011301. We've got an initial offer of $1,350. The original past due taxes and the cost of the tax foreclosure were $5,173.02, and we have a tax value of $2,700. As with the others, I would suggest the board consider giving approval to this one.
Second.
We have a motion and a second and to adopt the resolution and authorizing up said bid process. Partial number 8-011-301. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. And then D.
The last one, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, is a final approval for 503 West Street with a parcel ID number of 8008066. We had an initial offer of $4,000, and then we actually had an upset bid in the process. The upset bid was $4,500. Then that went through its own upset time period and became the final highest bid. The original past due taxes and cost of foreclosure were $11,995.39. The tax value of this property is $8,000. As with the others, I would recommend that the board consider giving its approval.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution approving conveyance. This is for partial number 8-008-066. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, item 8 is petition of citizens for general topics. Vice Chair Booker.
Yes, we have one citizen who wished to speak, Mr. Ray Griffin.
All right, Mr. Griffin, we welcome you as always. If you don't mind, just stating your name and address one more time for the record.
Ray Griffin, Vanceboro, North Carolina, 1981. All right, I hadn't got a long time, 3 minutes, I can't say it all. This is a Board of Craven County Board of Commissioners resolution in support of the Ten Commandments. At the bottom down here, it said this was supposed to be sent out to all 99 counties and senators. I don't know if they did or not, but any county that I have not heard from. I've been in a bunch of counties working on this, and I haven't heard anything about they being sent out. So y'all need to look this up and see if you can't get them sent out. But anyhow, okay, I'm going to do something you're probably not going to like. But many schools today in America are teaching children, teens about gender identity, LGBT community history, and some of them tell their children that it's okay to be gay, or teaching them that they can be whatever they wish to be. At a young age, they're doing this. It's okay for the media and the schools to encourage kids what they don't have to be and the gender they are, they can change. Isn't it amazing when you and I grew up, there was no pride parades. There was no discussion of gender identity. There was no drag queens. What is happening? There was never such thing heard in the day that we came up. Our public schools have become a place of wickedness, godless agenda. Young and tender people are being told lies. They're being fed with moral, broken society and taught unbelief in the truth. The Ten Commandments tells us what is right and what is wrong. Principles that were right thousands of years ago are still right today. The principle of truth never changed. Now, I've got a question. You're probably not going to like it when I talk you this question. But the question is, I've talked to men and women. I've talked to some of the political authority. I've talked to some that are running now. I've talked to lawyers, preachers, teachers, and everything. So I have to ask you the question. Can you be a Christian and be a Democrat? Think about it. I want somebody to define that for me. How can a Christian vote for a Democrat? Think about it. Y'all probably don't want to hear that, but it's truth. And if anybody could give me that answer, I would love to know it. Because we are living in a critical society. And I want to go this far. In California, in Kentucky, Oklahoma, Louisiana, they are now putting in the Ten Commandments. They're doing some biblical studies. They're doing some different things. And we need to embrace this. We need to look at what's going on. And this Democratic Party, you can look it up. Their platform and what they stand for is totally against the Word of God. But I asked you that question. If any one of you can tell me, you're supposed to be the words of wisdom and the people of knowledge. If you're a Democrat, can you be a Christian? That's all I want to say. Think about it. You got the words, there it is. Amen?
All right. Thank you, sir. Is that it? All right.
Are we supposed to respond to him? Okay.
All right. Item 9 is the county manager's report. Mr. Vike.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be brief. Just want to remind the board that starting today and running through November 11th, at your last meeting, you passed a resolution supporting Operation Greenlight for veterans. It's a really neat program the county started a couple of years ago, where we have green lights at a variety of county buildings, and we encourage our citizens to do the same in support of our veterans that have served our country. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. I know you approved it at the last meeting, but it starts today. Second and last, tomorrow's election day. I just say it again. We've had a very, very hard-working staff downstairs. They've already been through 17 days of early voting, record turnout in early voting. The voting tomorrow, just for the record, will be at the polling place as of election day. So your normal polling place will be where you vote tomorrow, not here or at one of the one-stop sites. But just keep those folks in your thoughts as they have a busy day tomorrow, and that's all I have, sir, unless you have questions for me.
Questions for the county manager. Did you, and if you don't have it, but do you have a number of how many voted in Craven County? I didn't never hear.
I don't know if I got it today, sir, but it was pretty high when the last one I saw.
Any of y'all know?
Ballpark figure from the last number that you saw.
The one from.
I got it.
42,000.
Oh, it was over. I think it reached.
So that
40.
was the last printout we got.
Oh, yeah.
Like
A week ago.
About a week.
Last number I saw was almost 40,000, and that was
Yeah.
before Saturday.
Search by the name.
I bet you it's over 40.
Probably is close to 40, if not 40.
We got, what, 80,000?
44,505.
Okay, we got it.
44,000.
Say that one more time.
Let me find it. 44,505.
Okay.
You got at least 20.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for the county manager?
We only have 100,000.
All right.
That's over.
Not, we'll go to Commissioner's report. Let's see, Commissioner Howard, you want me to, you write?
I'll be glad to start. I
Okay,
don't have
if you
much.
will, thank you.
Just a note, I was on the Education Committee for North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, just to pass it along to Commissioner Hunt, so she'll be representing us on the legislative goals. One thing we did take off was remove the restrictions on classroom sizes. We were lobbying to get rid of that as a county. NCACC was at one point. That's no longer part of that any longer. I think there's some reasons for that I could go into further detail if you want to know the reasons behind that. I will say I was at the polling places for 3 days, not the whole days, but like a few hours each day, and it was a lot. A lot of people showed up that last Saturday. Commissioner Hunt was there with me. It was a long line all day, so I don't think I've ever seen the enthusiasm and participation that I've seen so far this election cycle. So God bless our election workers. I know there were many calls that I heard about going to the Board of Elections, just nitpicking and minor conflicts for the most part, but people get at those cramped spaces voting. Sometimes things flare up, so kudos to them.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Mitchell.
Question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have a question?
I did. I want to hear what he said again. Did you say that you are getting rid of limitations for class salaries?
No, we want them to stay in place. As you know, Commissioner Smith, sometimes when you get rid of some of those restrictions, that money goes into positions at central services that,
Right.
I'll just name one position I heard from a school district that someone was getting their PhD or EDD, and they created a position so he could work at central services and spend about half his time working on that degree, and that's what happens when you take money out of the classroom and put it up in the wrong places.
Okay. You good?
I'm good.
All right. Commissioner Mitchell.
I would just like to ask all of our citizens, if you have not voted, please go to the polls tomorrow. It is an honor and privilege of our citizenship to be able to vote, so please exercise it.
Thank you. Commissioner Mark.
I have nothing to report.
Commissioner Hunt.
I would just like to talk about the successful Havelock Chili Festival that we had in Havelock recently. And in case you didn't know, all the monies raised during that day's event stays right here in Craven County and goes directly to our own local nonprofits. So thank you to everybody that supported that festival.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
No, I have none.
Okay. Vice Chair Booker.
Yeah, just one quick thing. Recently, County Manager, myself, and 3 others visited James City for about the 4th or 5th time since
my number is...
Sorry.
That's all right.
I'm sorry.
Thought you were talking to me.
I know.
Since I've been a commissioner, I think this is the 4th or 5th, at least, visit we've had. We saw some positive things. We saw some good stuff where progress is being made. Several buildings that were vacant and derelict have been torn down. We still got a ways to go, and unfortunately, the easy stuff is now behind us, and we've got some, most of the people who still have properties that are derelict and just horrible condition, won't respond to our communication. So I guess we're going to have to, Mr. County Attorney, we're going to have to figure out what's the next step.
Yes, sir.
But we have made substantial progress. I would estimate at least 50 properties have been cleaned up in James City in the last 4 years. So that's the good news. So we were pleased overall with our visit.
Good. Thank you. Sheriff Hughes, do you have anything you want to share this evening?
I did want to share something, Chairman, real quick, if I could.
Yes, sir.
For a second, I wanted to talk about our overdose comparison, some of the numbers we've got compared to the previous years and where we are this year. And I'll say what we're doing collaboratively as far as enforcement, our education, our services, we have seen a drastic decrease in our overdose and overdose deaths, which is fantastic. And it's really because of the teamwork. It's the investment that y'all have made, not only in the enforcement that we use with our office, but also from the other components that I mentioned. This year so far, we're looking at about 46 overdoses through the month of October, which is substantially, drastically less than it was last year this time. We had a total last year of 107 on December 31st, and we're at 46 right now. We've had 3 deaths, so what's taking place is working. So I would encourage us to continue to go down this road that we're going, continue to put the resources and time into it, because we are seeing huge improvements. County Manager brought to my attention, we are not on the top 10 list, Jack? Is that right?
Sheriff, thank you. So in September, actually Amber sent it to me, but For the first time since I've looked at the data, Craven County wasn't in the bottom 10 in one of the top 5 categories related to overdose and hospitalization and all that. So for the first time, we weren't in any of the categories. So that's coincides very nicely with his data. I mean, we want to be in the top 10, not the bottom 10. We're just continue to work our way up, but it is the partnerships like Caitlin and Sheriff talked about that move it. So.
I just want to make you aware of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Yeah, you got a lot of questions. Start with Commissioner Smith.
Okay, my question is, what age range, are the Africans in a given age range? Or is it across the board?
Well, you know, unfortunately, with the fentanyl-related overdoses, which are the overwhelming majority, 18 to 45, that's your age range where we're seeing the majority of them.
Hasn't changed.
But, you know, looking at 3 deaths this year, last year was 15. You know, now we've got November and December, but that's what we're doing is working, and we're moving in the right direction. Yes, sir.
Vice Chair Booker, and then we'll go to
I don't have a question, but what you're doing and your team is doing to take this crap off the streets is no small part of this. So that's, you know, it's one thing to say, you know, what we're doing is working. A lot of it is what you're doing. So we thank you for that.
Thank you. And once again, the men and women of the office get the credit for that. You know, like I said, the other component, though, is, you know, the investment we made in a jail navigator that looks at the addictions these people have when they are incarcerated, and we work toward a healthy lifestyle when they're leaving with follow-up procedures. That, too, I think has a lot to do with what Jasmine is doing. Has been phenomenal as well. So educating the folks on the resources that are out there, so when they get out, they don't go right back to what they were doing. That's why, and we are taking a lot of bad dope off the streets.
It's a combination.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Howard.
I'll echo what Denny said, and when I've known one of your K-9 unit officers for about 20 years, and when I hear the stories of all the busts they're making with the K-9 unit, has that made an impact? I mean, I feel like the K-9 unit, which has been something you've done in just a very short span of time, I would think has made a tremendous impact.
Yeah, the key to this is when you target that there's a bad, not that any dope is good dope, but a very bad batch or hot, that we focus on that area and send our resources into that area to get it off the streets as quickly as possible. That really is what drives down the immediate results that we get. Then we work on the long term, and that's how we see the numbers continually to drop, and this year drastically. Still got 2 months, but if it trends the way, you know, our numbers are going to be by far less than half what they were last year. So
That's huge.
good stuff.
Thank you, Sheriff, for the update. Appreciate what you do. All right, anything else from commissioners? Staff, you got anything?
No, sir.
Y'all good? All right. Board, we are requested by the county attorney and staff to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-31811A3, attorney-client privilege. We will entertain a motion in a second. We will go in here. I ask you to please keep our electronics here. We're going to take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll be over there. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to go in closed session. All those, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, 5-minute recess, and we'll go in closed session.